Good day, everyone. So today's presentation is about facilitating learner-centered learning through the lens of Robert Sternberg's successful intelligence theory and his weeks model. These theories provide a broader understanding of intelligence and how teaching and assessment can be improved to support different types of learners. Okay, so Robert J. Sternberg is an American psychologist known for his theories on love, intelligence, and creativity. He was born in New Jersey on December 8, 1949. Robert Sternberg did extensive work in the field of as a youngster. Uh, intelligence. As a youngster, he had difficulty with intelligence tests. He did not perform well on such tests. This might have fueled his interest in the field and led him to come up with a hierarchic theory of intelligence in the 1980s. Over the years, his theory evolved from the most complicated computational theoretic theory to the simpler, successful intelligence theory. Okay, so Robert J. Sternberg is an American psychologist known for his work on intelligence, love, and creativity. He was born in New Jersey in 1949. He had personal challenges with intelligence tests in his youth. These early experiences likely influenced his career and led to the development of his theories. So, in the 1980s, now, he introduced the triarch theory of intelligence. And over time, this evolved into the simpler successful intelligence theory and more recently the Weeks model, which was designed to improve education by making it more relevant and inclusive. Okay. So, let's talk about this advanced organizer. It outlines the key components of Sternberg's successful intelligence theory, which includes memory, analytical, creative, and practical intelligence. It also introduces the Weeks model. Weeks means wisdom, intelligence, creativity, and synthesize. Lastly, it shows how the Weeks model can be applied in teaching through four types of instruction: trade analytical, creative, practical, and wise. This slide also mentions that learners may prefer certain types of thinking, but all four types are valuable and necessary. So, first, let's talk about the memory skills. So, memory skills help us recall facts and pieces of information. Thus, help us retain the knowledge we acquire. So, memory skills refer to our ability to recall information and facts. This kind of intelligence helps us retain the knowledge that we gain, which is foundational for deeper thinking. Without memory, we wouldn't be able to store or use what we learn in schools and everyday life. The next one is the analytical skills. It helps the person determine if a certain idea is good. So analytical skills allows us to evaluate whether ideas or arguments make sense. This involves breaking down information, identifying patterns, and solving problems. It's the kind of thinking often measured in traditional academic settings like tests and essays. The next is creative skills. It allow a person to come up with a new idea, usually to answer a need or solve a problem. It makes one flexible and able to adjust to changes in one situation. So, creative intelligence gives us the ability to come up with new ideas. These skills especially useful when solving problems or adapting to change. A creative person can at a situation differently and imagine solutions that the others might not consider. So, the, la- the last successful intelligence theory is the practical skills. It, en- it enables a person to apply what one has learned. It also allows one to carry through or implement a plan. Okay, so practical intelligence is all about applying what we know. It helps us take knowledge from schools or theory and use it in real life situations. Practical skills also enable us to follow through with plans and put ideas into action. So, Sternberg believed that traditional views of intelligence focus heavily on memory and analytical skills. This traditional view led to teaching strategies that focus mainly on memory and analytical skills as well. It naturally followed that assessment of learning likewise concentrated heavily on these two skills. So, according to this, and Sternberg believed that the traditional education has mostly focused on memory and analytical skills. This has influenced how teachers instruct and how students are assessed. As a result, students who may be more creative or practical often don't get the chance to shine in the classroom. Okay, so memory and analytical skills are very much necessary. Being able to recall information or have knowledge is needed to begin thinking creatively. One cannot apply knowledge which he cannot remember. Analysis is important before one can think of new and better ideas. However, memory and analytical skills should not be the only focus of education. So, while memory and analytical thinking are important, Sternberg emphasized that they shouldn't be the only focus. Memory is needed to remember information, and analysis helps us judge that information. But creativity drives innovation, and practical skills help us use our knowledge. So all four skills work together and should be nurtured equally in education. Sternberg also emphasized creative and practical intelligence. Creativity is what moves people forward. Creativity gives birth to new and better solutions to problems. Without creativity, we will get trapped in things and ways that don't work anymore. Practical intelligence, on the other hand, makes makes us apply what we have learned. It gets us to actually do what needs to be done. So, according to Sternberg, successful intelligence is the ability to succeed in life based on your personal goals and your environment. It means using your strength not just to adapt and thrive, but also to make a meaningful contribution to society. It's a broader and more flexible view of intelligence. So, the Wicks model is introduced here. Here, it stands for wisdom, intelligence, creativity, and synthesis. So, this model is meant to guide how we think and make decisions, especially in education. It encourages a balanced approach to thinking, combining insight, ideas, and action with ethical considerations. So, Sternberg 2010 described the Wicks model as follows. The basic idea is that citizens of the world need creativity to form a vision of where they want to go and to cope with changes in the environment, analytical intelligence to ascertain whether their creative ideas are good ones, practical intelligence to implement their ideas and to persuade others of the value of the ideas, and wisdom in order to ensure that the ideas will help achieve some ethically based common good over the long and short terms rather than just what is good for them and their families and friends. So, Sternberg describes Weeks as a model where people use creativity to imagine a vision, analytical intelligence to evaluate ideas, practical intelligence to implement them and persuade others, and wisdom to ensure that their actions benefit the greater good. not just themselves or their close circle. So it focuses on ethical and long-term thinking. So applying the Wix model. One way you can apply the Wix model in instruction is when you reflect and make choices in the tasks and activities that you will give to teach and assess your students. You may choose to teach analytically, creatively, practically, as teach for wisdom. Your choice can be based on the preferences and strengths of your learners. This is useful for any level from preschool to higher education. So teacher can apply the Wix model by designing tasks that match students' strengths. For example, some activities may focus on analysis, others on creativity, practicality, or wisdom. This flexible approach allows teachers to support all kinds of learners, from young children to college students, by valuing different types of intelligence. So, the Wix model has been used not only for instruction but also for admission and assessment. Sternberg and his colleagues proposed, tried out, and studied creative ways of doing student admission as well as assessing students' learning. So based on their studies, the Wix model was successful for teachers and their learners because first, it celebrated the differences of learning through a supportive learning environment. Second, it made students remember better what they learned. Third, it built on the strengths of the learners. And fourth, lastly, it strengthened the motivation of the learners. So it means that the Wix model isn't just for teaching. It has also been applied in admission and assessment. So research showed that it helped teachers support different learners, improve memory, build on students' strengths, and increase motivation. So by focusing on all of four areas of intelligence, the Wix model helps create a more inclusive and effective learning environment.